Creepy apartment. I can't believe we haven't gone crazy here. Although it's been a few years since we lived in a very strange, even creepy apartment, and I remember with a shudder what happened there. And it all started with the fact that we decided to move with my husband and little daughter to the city from my parents, so that the child went to daycare and I went to work as my husband's money was significantly lacking. We found an apartment at an attractive price near the kindergarten and a couple of days lived there. The owner was a nice woman of age, but for some reason none of the tenants of the house said hello to her. I thought that was suspicious, but I didn't focus on this. After a week or so, the strangest and unexplainable things began to happen. That night, I hardly slept because my daughter Alice was acting capricious since the evening. She didn't want to sleep and was pointing her finger into the hallway. Suddenly, I heard the cracking of the wooden floors, that I inadvertently turned around. I thought it was my husband walking there, but no, he was snoring in bed, but someone was walking around unseen. Frightened, I woke up my husband, and the two of us listened to the creaking floor. The sounds disappeared as abruptly as they appeared. Only my daughter burst out crying hysterically. We fell asleep only in the morning. The next night was even scarier. I could hear rustling and sighing in the kitchen, as if someone was smacking their little lips. My husband plucked up courage and rushed into the kitchen to find out the source of this mayhem. But before I switched on the light in the corridor, I heard a rattle in the kitchen, and then I could not stand it any longer and ran after him. The window glass was lying all over the kitchen in small pieces, but how could it have broken? I definitely remember that I was closing it, and there was complete silence outside the window. We spent the rest of the night in a house slumber with the lights on everywhere. We spent the whole weekend tidying up the kitchen. We had to call the glazier and put in the window. After that, we lived peacefully for about a month. I even began to forget those nighttime oddities until I went into the kitchen at night to heat the milk. The horror! At the table sat a thin, ugly man with droopy eyes and unshaven stubble. He turned in my direction, his angry stare piercing me. I screamed in horror and covered my face with my hands. My husband was already there and prevented me from fainting. There was no one at the table. I attributed my vision to fatigue and lack of sleep. The new job and the staff were stressful for me. Then I began to notice that little bruises began to appear on my baby girl's body, and the rare nights she slept peacefully. On a Saturday afternoon, in the sun, we were walking in the yard. I didn't want to go home because I was afraid to be there alone without my husband. That's when the neighbor from the second floor, Claudia Ivanovna, came up to me. She immediately asked how we were living in the apartment and if we felt anything strange. Of course, I couldn't hide the strangeness of the apartment and in the same breath told the woman everything. My neighbor sighed and advised me to leave the apartment immediately. To what I replied that the apartment is a very convenient location, a kindergarten and the walk. But after that night, we didn't hesitate to pack and leave to my parents. Our daughter cried and babbled that the scary man standing next to her and preventing her from sleeping. It was much later than I got a job at the front desk of the clinic. I met the same neighbor from the house where we rented an apartment. It turned out that our landlady used to live there with your husband, and he didn't like small children and didn't want his own, no matter how much his wife cried and pursued him. And they say that after he died, she could not live there and went to her sister. But in the apartment there was something terrible and wrong all the time, especially in families with children. It is as if the spirit of the deceased survives the tenants, that no one stays there for more than a month. So guys, if you like this story, leave your like and comment in comment section, and I'll come back for you with some more interesting stories.